I think owning the bookends, right? Owning the morning and the night. I mean, everyone talks about it. There's nothing new there, but I really talk about this intentional creation of your mind. So when I start my day, I can wake up and have the world create my mind for me. I become a victim, or I become reactive to the world around me, or I can sit down and intentionally curate my who I'm going to be that day. How am I going to show up for my kids? How am I going to show up for my business? I can sit down and literally create joy. I can create gratitude. I can create I don't know, discipline in my mind before I ever approach any of the day's whirlwind, right? I could sit down in meditation, or I could sit down just by myself and ask myself, who am I going to be today? How am I going to show up? And I start to visualize it. And I see myself being the most loving dad in the world. I see myself being the most inspirational leader to my community. I see myself being a really focused, disciplined leader in my business. And I'm just envisioning that. I'm like, what does that look like? And what does that feel like? And how do I show up in those? And you create these avatars, right? Like, how do I show? And so for me, it's like, it's business, it's family, maybe it's fitness. And the business can kind of be separated into like my external tribe and my internal team. And how am I showing up for those people? And so I like to curate how I'm going to show up. And that way, any whirlwind can be thrown at me. And I've already intentionally decided who I'm going to be in that moment, right? I've intentionally decided how I'm going to show up. And then it's this calm confidence that I'm unshakable, right? You could throw anything at me and it doesn't change who I am. It doesn't change how I react. I'm just going to approach it with the same logic and rationale that I would otherwise, right? So many people just kind of jump into the day and they start getting into problems and getting into obstacles, and they become reactive. I think that's probably been the biggest thing I've done. And then stacking on top of that, asking yourself, what are the most important things you can get done every day? And it's only 2 or 3. You're kind of your primary and your secondary list of tasks, and you get those primary things done. If it's 2 or 3 things, now you have a sense of accomplishment, right? Now you have that dopamine pathway, being that reward pathway going off. I'm like, oh, I feel good about myself. I feel confident, right? And taking confidence into any situation is always a win. Whereas if I don't have those things, even if I'm accomplishing things every day, if I don't like intentionally write them down and go, yes, that's what I wanted to do, I don't know that I'm actually moving the needle. So I don't get the same dopamine response. You can get a million things done in the day, but if it isn't like the big things that you wrote down, there isn't that constant pursuit, that constant movement towards somewhat worthy ideal. And then maybe you start losing motivation. You're losing out on the opportunity to gain motivation. You're losing out on the opportunity to gain confidence. It's a simple act of like just writing down just a couple of things I want to do today. Complete game changer, man. And I wish somebody had taught. I know it's funny that I've heard that, and you've heard this a zillion times since I was 18. Everyone's like, you got to journal every day, but nobody could ever explain it in a way that I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I was like, just journal. I'm like, what am I journaling about? Well, I think it's like, hey, write down, what you want to do in this month or this 3 months, and then what are the 2 to 3 things you can do today that will ensure that you're moving in the right direction. You don't have to get to the goal; just move in the right direction. Eventually, you get to the goal. And I think that simple practice, if people could do that every day, would completely change their belief in themselves.
Hey, this is Ari. I hope you enjoyed this video. And one more thing before you go. Actually, 2 more things. One is, if you enjoyed this particular little clip, the link to the full-length podcast is in the description down below. So make sure to check that out. Also, one more thing. Let me ask you a question. What if I could show you how to double your energy levels and dramatically improve your brain function, reducing your anxiety and depression to a degree on par with antidepressant drugs, but without the side effects? Sound pretty interesting? Well, there are, in fact, numerous compounds that can do this, that have been shown to do this. And I'll take you through just a few of these very briefly. One of them is rhodiola rosea. And this has been shown in studies, rhodiola rosea extract in people with stress-related fatigue and exhaustion, to cut their levels of fatigue and brain fog in half in less than a month. Just this one compound. There's another compound in my formula Energenesis called NT factor phospholipids that's been shown to help repair mitochondrial membranes and mitochondrial health to the level of healthy 29-year-olds, taking people with deteriorated mitochondria who are over the age of 65, restoring it to the level of healthy 29-year-olds. And that has been shown in numerous studies in various types of chronic fatigue, aging-associated chronic fatigue, obesity-related chronic fatigue syndrome, to increase energy levels by 30 to 45% in the span of 4 to 12 weeks, depending on the specific study. So dramatic improvements in a very, very short period of time. 2 more compounds that are amazing, I highly recommend, that are in my formula, Ultra Brain, along with Rhodiola rosea. Saffron extract. This has been shown to increase levels of, improve your mood, I should say, and decrease levels of depression on par with fluoxetine, which is Prozac. And not only that, but with fewer side effects. It's much safer and much less likely to cause negative effects than antidepressant drugs are. Acetyl L-carnitine is another compound that's been shown to dramatically improve brain health in older adults. It also improves energy levels in older adults with chronic fatigue by between 40 to 50% in just the span of 2 to 4 months. And the last thing I'll mention here is acetyl L-carnitine has also been compared to antidepressant drugs and been shown, like saffron, to be as effective as antidepressant drugs in combating depression, but without the harmful side effects that so often occur with the drugs. So this is just a small sampling of the over 35 compounds that are in my formulas, Energenesis and Ultra Brain, that are all proven to dramatically improve energy levels, mitochondrial health, and brain health, and much, much more. And I highly recommend that you go check these out. If you're struggling with depression or anxiety or brain fog, if you're struggling with stress-related exhaustion and burnout, if you're struggling with chronic fatigue, go check out these formulas, give them a shot. I promise you are going to be blown away by the results. And like I said, the science has already proven that these things work. So you don't have to just take my word for it. There's lots of research to support that, and I'll even link to some of that research down below so you can verify everything that I just said for yourself. So the links to those studies will be in the description for this video down below. So check them out. Check out the formulas on theenergyblueprint.com. Again, Energenesis is the mitochondrial formula, and Ultra Brain is our brain formula. Check them out, try them out, and I think you're going to be blown away by the results. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you again soon.